Hello and welcome to this Poetry Out Loud session, How to Make Poetry Be Alive on Purpose with Outspoken Bean. I'm Derek Mudd and I help coordinate for Poetry Out Loud in Texas, and I am joined by one of the other coordinators, my colleague, Anina Moore.
Hi, thanks for joining us today.
Today we are excited to present Outspoken Bean. He is a performance poet, writer, compassionate mentor, electric entertainer, and educator. Bean uses poetry to collaborate with other mediums and institutions, such as being the first poet to perform in a main stage production of Houston Ballet's play. And I'm going to hand it over to him now. Welcome and thanks for presenting this session today, Bean.
Hey, y'all. You know what? Thank you for asking me, Derek. And thank you, Anina, and TCA, and everybody. Thank you. How is everyone doing? Thumbs up if you're doing all right. Raise the roof, right? You know what I mean? Let me go scroll through. Okay, Sarah, I'm imagining that you are dancing or something. I can't see you. Anyway, I just want to say thank y'all all for being here. I recognize that you are all teachers in some capacity, something like that. And so, that bio gives kind of a background of who I is, but I want to go a little deeper into that. So how I fell in love. Okay. Sorry, did everyone else get that as well? How I got into doing poetry is doing spoken word in college, and real vain reasons to get girls, and then it just kept growing. My eldest brother is the person that really got me into it. My eldest late brother is the person that really got me into like writing when I was a kid, and so. Y'all, I want to share a poem with you. Is that cool? Right? Again, if you're on social media or anything like that, feel free to follow me. It's at Outspoken Bean. It's all spelled correctly. Excuse me, because I'm not that poet. To spell things intentionally wrong makes no sense to me. All right. This poem. Derek, if you want to go ahead and send it to them in the chat. If you want to read along with me, this is going to be one of two things I'll be sending to you all. And also, if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat as well. And we can ask and we'll get to it. But there may be even a point where I'll just say, hey, just unmute yourselves if you have a question. I don't mind that either. All right. So we don't have a lot of time. Let's do this. I am past the point of no return. Then I remember my promise in making me a customer to my service that came with non-negotiable terms, targeted as a non-Walmart's policy that I can't nor won't return myself. When I left the shelf, the top one, is when I started life. These priceless times been tagged on me. I have to remind myself to retell myself, not to discount me. I am the manager, on call and general. The answer to the questions of how I can help you is always found on the row with the mirrors. What's new in store has always been in store. The inventory has been barcoded and accounted for. My worth is my offer. This is my only offer. Attention shoppers, we have a steal of a deal. Here I am on and in the aisle. I am no longer waiting for intercoms to announce my calling. Yeah, that's called the store poem. Derek, are we not able to put it in there? Yeah. And so, y'all, so I do want to ask some questions from things that you saw. Jordan just joined us. Hello, Jordan. Welcome. And you can unmute to respond back. What were some things? Now, granted, like I know that we are in this COVID world right now, and so there's some things that are like that I'm not standing, right? I'm not standing up, right? And you know, I'm not in front of you physically and stuff, right? So you know, but what were some things that you noticed that I did as I performed my poem? Anyway.
I noticed, I mean, this is one of the things I liked about your piece. And a lot of times I notice in spoken word is like the double meanings of words, right? And it's not as obvious in the reading of it. It's more obvious in your delivery. And so, yeah.
So double meaning. All right. And it's a small group, so we can if we have two things y'all can say, that's cool too. All right. What else is something that you noticed?
Good use of gesture.
Gestures. Yes, there's a lot of gestures. Yeah. What up? How did the gestures correlate with what I was saying? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, they went right along with it.
Went right along with it. There we go. All right. What else?
You used a lot of inflection.
Inflections. I don't know what that word means. So can someone explain what inflection means?
Did you want me to I can take that up. Yeah, I'm probably not going to explain it very effectively, but yeah, different. So I come from a music background, so for me it's like the dynamics of the text, dynamics of the text. Sorry. The different pitch level of the text, the direction that the words are going. Someone could probably add to that.
No. You're correct, right? You're also right. Thank you, Mary. All right. Anyone else? Uh-oh.
You sped up and slowed down rhythmically.
All right. So we got tempo in there. You said rhythmically. So rhythm. I like to put rhythm down here. Does anyone know another word for rhythm that's usually dealing with your voice? That starts with a C.
Cadence.
There we go. I was gonna spell it if I had to. All right. Cadence. Yes. And what does cadence mean, Ernest?
Cadence is the tempo, the beat, the rhythm, all that's behind you, driving your voice and your delivery.
Definitely. All right. So let me go ahead and show y'all, and Derek, you can go ahead and send the other document to them. If not, put your emails in here, and I'll email this to you directly. So when I'm working with students, so from 2009 to 2015, I would go to Carver High School here in Houston. I'm based in Houston, Texas. I would go to Carver High School and work with young people to get prepared for poetry out loud, right? And you know, and poetry out loud specifically, a little different than poetry slam. I also coach the youth poetry slam team here. But the difference is, one of the differences is that poetry out loud, you're using someone else's work, right? And you have to digest, and you have to take in the work and let it digest and kind of take it in because you didn't write it, right? In a lot of ways, that's a lot like acting, right? But I'm not trying to teach the kids to act these out. I want them to honor the words that were written in a way that also that it is clear and indicative that they understand the text and that they respect the text, and that the audience will see what you see in it, right? So with that being said, I kind of started this thing called the performance pyramid. All right. And what the performance pyramid is, the internal dialogue that is happening in your brains as you are performing real time. Does that make sense, y'all? Thumbs up, shake head, something like that, right? Right. It is the internal dialogue that is happening with your brain, right? Who does not have a car in Texas? Show your hands and be embarrassed. Okay. Now, while you are driving, right? We all have cars, right? While you are driving, on the little board, like you have the wheel, and then you have like you have the dashboard, and it has like all these different lights. They have different things like maybe check engine, something's wrong with your tire, right? You need to do that for yourself as you are performing. And the performance pyramid is a guideline of that. All right. So the performance pyramid is a live guideline for your performance. All right, that you need to constantly check in with, but you got to know what they are, and I'm going to get there. I promise. All right. Another thing that the performance pyramid does is it puts in perspective what's important. All right, it puts in perspective what's important. Right. I promise I never said this, but we're all there. But we're all adults here, right? I never said this to the kids, but it's like, why do I give a word when you're on stage, right? So if you get up there like you don't give a, then why would I? You know what I'm saying? You need to care about. It doesn't matter if you wrote it or not. You're up there. You need to care about it, right? And to me, that's an important lesson as far as like, you know, even like standing up for yourself, like vocally and eloquently, right? And so what this does is it's like, it's a guideline, and it puts in perspective of what's important. All right. Here's what the performance pyramid looks like. All right, I'm sorry if it's backwards, right? So if you want to go ahead and draw this yourself, right? Get you some pen and paper, draw it yourself, and we'll go ahead and go downtown with it, all right? So you're gonna make a triangle, right? A little geometry. And then you're gonna have two lines. One line right here, and one line that cuts off right at the top. And you're going to make three tiers out of this one pyramid, not triangle, pyramid. Tier 3, we're going to start at the bottom. Tier 3, that is physical, right? That's physical movement, pretty much, okay? Tier 2 is voice, right? Anything dealing with your voice or your vocal. That's what I usually write. It's vocal, not voice. So you can have that both, right? Because your body is a voice too. You know what I mean? So vocal. So I can be clear, right? So tier 2 is your vocal voice, all right? And tier 3, that's the most important tier. The most important tier is tier 3, which is the text, right? And I show this to them, right? This is the second thing that I was telling y'all. If you take away vocal and physical, the text is still a pyramid. The text is still a pyramid on its own, because honestly, that's what people are there for. You know what I mean? Like that's literally what people are there for. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is usually when some smart ass student will be like, well, what about jazz? I'm like, am I a jazz teacher? Am I? Well, Am I in a jazz class? Like, it's not the same. I didn't say performance. I said for this, right? So the performance pyramid, and what it does, like I said, it gives clarity, right? So we'll start at tier 3 at the bottom. Tier 3, you got that's where rhythm goes, right? I had rhythm with my movements. That's where gestures go. That's where hand movements go. That's where your facial expression goes. That's where what else? Help me out, y'all. What else would go into that? That's where also negative things go in there too. That's where swaying goes, right? That's where so basically at the bottom, the reason why physical is at the bottom, because also one, it's the widest space. It's the widest space of the pyramid, right? So that means for your audience, it's the easiest for people to be distracted. So every movement you do needs to be justified. There doesn't need to be movement to every single line, right? So using my line, right? Using from my poem, my favorite part of that poem, store poem, is I have to retell myself not to discount me, right? That's just me saying it. But what I did is I have to retell myself not to discount me. What did y'all notice the movements I did? Go ahead and say them out loud. What were some things I did with that?
Well, I mean, you showed us through your pause that you were having to check your own self. You were like, wait a second.
All right, so that's facial expressions. So I use facial expressions. Thank you, Violet. Thank you, Violet. What else? What was another thing I did? Did my eyes stay on the camera? I closed my eyes at some points, right? Did my hands just stay to my side? Right? I touched myself, right? I was like, discount me, right? Reaffirm myself with my hands, right? These are things that were justified movements. And one thing that you can use so that way you can take it to your students, right? When they choose their poem, it's important to one, read the poem. I know. I'm not saying I know y'all are going to make them do that, but you know, I know high school. I know that grade. I know that grade level. They won't read it. They'll just pick something and be like, oh, I just picked it. Yeah, well, that's why this performance sucks. So they first need to read the poem, right? But then after they read it at least 3 times, right? And the reason why I say 3 times, this is a theater trick, right? The first time is for enjoyment. The second time is for understanding, and the third time is for dissection, right? So after they read it 3 times in a row, right? They need to underline their favorite parts, or underlines, what I like to say is underline what spoke to you, right? But don't say, but you have to give them measures, right? Underline 3 lines that are not the same that spoke to you. You know what I mean? Like underline 3 lines throughout the piece that spoke to you, right? And the reason why you do that, right? The reason why I do that is then it's like, all right, these speak to you. You can start choreographing and start adding movements to just those 3. because you can get up and do a poem. You can get up and do a poem, and this is in the back of my head. I have seen poems and prose and monologues where the person gets up there and they have such an understanding of it, or the writing is so good, they just get up there and do no movement. And it brings tears to the audience's eyes, right? That's why the text is most important, you know? So if you take so they don't need to add, but adding gestures and movement is the easiest and the first thing that they're going to want to do. So measure it, put a measure on it, like 3, and then if it gets better, then maybe you could add more, then have them add more later, but do it in steps, right? You're also going to do that for vocal. What are some other lines that speak to you, right? Because your vocal performance changes, if you know what I mean, right? And these are things, and vocal performance, and vocal also includes volume. They can't hear you. If you're making an audience work to hear you, then they're not listening. If you make them work, like honestly, y'all, just think of, let's just be honest, right? Let's just be honest. If an audience, if you make somebody work to hear you, to hear, it's the muscles are doing it for you. So if I gotta do that, I'm not listening. I'm not listening, right? So volume is really important, right? And tone, right? Understanding tonality, understanding what's the tone of the piece, how should it be spoken? Is the tone the same all the way through the piece, right? Some of you said cadence, right? And tempo. These are the things that are married with your physical and your vocal performance, right? And again, if the writing is bar none, as long as they can hear you when you're on stage. But the thing is they didn't write these. So they have to like put emphasis on vocal and on physical, right? And it's kind of like it's kind of the same thing, right? I like to I usually make myself the example for them. I usually make myself the example for young people because I know what I'm doing with my work, right? But people who do great vocal performances, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here right now. Sunny Patterson. She does great vocal performances. Someone who does great physical performances. Buddy Wakefield. All right. And honestly, they're both great performers, like on both spectrums either way. But these are things that really kind of matter with them. I want y'all to, and what's also important is that those young people need to understand when they walk on stage, when their name is called, that's when the performance starts. From the time people see you, you have 15 seconds to make up the mind that the audience is going to pay attention to you or play Candy Crush. To pay attention to you or get on Instagram. To pay attention to you or now have to use the restroom. Never be the potty break, ever. If you don't want to be the potty break, then you need to work on your performance and your vocal delivery, period.
That's a great message to take home.
There you go.
Well, was there anyone who had a question or anything that you wanted to say to Bean right now?
I don't have any questions in the chat, so unless anyone wants to unmute and say something.
And a nice thank you from Violet. Thank you so much for being here. Anina, do you have anything you wanted to add?
I totally do, actually. I want to make the point that a lot of the elements that Bean is talking about in the pyramid are part of the evaluation criteria for Poetry Out Loud. And one of the things that I have seen over the years is sometimes the teachers are invested in getting students to know the poems and to memorize them and to perform them. And the students aren't really clear on what they're being judged on, but it's all available, it's online. And there's a reason that the students are being judged by those criteria. It's because they are really important factors in conveying understanding and enjoyment of the poem. So this presentation just is a really great toolkit for talking to students about what they're going to be evaluated on in this program.
Bean, any final thoughts?
No, thank y'all for having me. I hope y'all were able to learn some things. Again, I spelled my name in the chat if you want to follow me or go to my website. I also have a book. It's a coloring book. It's a poetic coloring book called Coloring Outside the Lines. And it can, you can go to my website and get it, or you can send me a direct and I can send you the pay link for it. Yeah.
Well, thank all of you for attending today, and best of luck on your school competitions.
Yes.
Bye.